Welcome to the Lawless Astrology channel. We are going to be looking at natal planets conjunct your natal Venus in this week's video. About a year ago, astrologer Nadia Shah did something very similar in a series of shorts, and they were great. And so I thought it would be a good opportunity to put it all in one place for you. So I hope you enjoy. And if I have not met you before, I am Dabney Lawless. I am an evolutionary astrologer, and I was trained by the renowned Stephen Forrest. And this is the Lawless Astrology channel. And on this channel, what we do is we look at the cosmos and the planetary energy and how that can support you in your relationships through difficult times in the week ahead. Hopefully learn a little astrology along the way. So that's what we do here at Lawless Astrology. So hopefully this content is meant for you. And if so, I would be so grateful if you like, subscribe, share, all those good things. If you are interested in learning and you don't know already if you have any planets conjunct your natal Venus, just look below in the description box. I have a free download that will explain to you how to get your natal chart, what Venus looks like, and then what the planets are that could potentially be conjunct Venus. So this will mean a little bit more to you. So if you are ready, let's go, stargazers. So first of all, let's talk about what we mean when we say natal Venus conjunct other natal planets. So when you were born, everyone has a Venus somewhere, and your Venus is your relationship function. And that is not limited to love relationships, but a lot of times that's what people want to focus on. Venus has a lot of other qualities. It's about beauty and aesthetics. It's about friendships. It can be about business partnerships. So, there's a lot of things that fall under the bucket of relationships. But if we really kind of hone in on this sort of partnership and love relationship, what we are talking about when we talk about a planet being conjunct your natal Venus, that planet and what that planet means and that planetary energy impacts your Venus. So when I do a reading, I always talk about how your Venus impacts your view, the lens through which you view relationships. And it is the qualities you bring to a relationship, but it's also the qualities that you need in a partner. So a lot of times, that Venus can tell you so much about who your natural partners are. And so having a planet really close in the sky when you were born to your Venus is going to kind of have an influence on the way that Venus expresses itself and what that Venus's needs are and what that Venus's blind spots are or what that Venus's potential projections are. So really that's the value of looking at what are the planets that are sitting next to your Venus in the sky when you were born, and how does that impact how you see partnership and relationship. Now, we have to keep in mind that a Venus conjunct Mercury in Capricorn is not the same as a Venus conjunct Mercury in Gemini. So these planetary energies are going to be also influenced by the sign they're in, the house they're in. So there's all different kind of pieces to the puzzle that we can put together for your individual chart. But for the purposes of this video, we're really going to take planet by planet and look at how the planets impact your individual natal Venus. Okay, we're going to start with the sun. So Venus conjunct the sun is a very magnetic, fun energy. So, it's when you think of the sun, you think of a beautiful sunny day, and we all just have a very different vibe on a sunny day than on a cozy rainy day. And so the sun shines brightly. All the planets revolve around the sun. And so you kind of get in that mindset, well, how does that impact? What is the impact when it's conjunct your natal Venus? Well, when it's conjunct your natal Venus, there is this, like I said, complete magnetism. People are drawn to that energy because there's a confidence there. There is a brightness. There is something, sort of, I want to say, just like, it's not fun necessarily, but it's interesting. It's intriguing. It's like, wow, there is this beautiful, bright, sunny energy about that person, and I'm attracted to them. So that describes you. But it also describes the partners that you need. You need somebody who has that kind of royal quality, that has that, I am here and I can match you and I can be present with you. Because the other part of this is the sun can eclipse Venus in some ways. It is so bright. The sun is this big bright ball up in the sky, and you can't look directly at the sun without going blind. And so there's that feeling too with like the natal Venus next to the sun. There's blind spots. And so for you in relationship, you are going to need somebody that can handle the strength of your personality, because your personality is big, but it's beautiful. And like, you want to have a presence. You want somebody who wants to have a presence with you. That's going to be incredibly important. You have to be careful that your ego needs are not eclipsing the relationship needs. So the nice thing is, I think with the Venus-Sun conjunction, you can understand your partner's needs when you're conscious of them, because they're your needs as well, right? And so I think that that's the most important thing, is to realize it's not all about you, and that it is about the partnership, because you're going to be in a very relationship-oriented lifetime. You're going to need relationships to learn and grow. And so the more that you can kind of take a step back and check in with yourself and say, is this all about me, or is this about the partnership? Right? And so there's kind of this, there's just that need for consciousness, and also the need for somebody who wants to shine brightly with you. You don't want to attract someone to you who is just in service of you. You want somebody who can stand there with you and shine. Now, Venus conjunct the moon is a very different energy. So the moon is much more interior. If the sun is exterior focused, and a little bit more about how we are out in the world, the moon is a little bit more our internal, creative, take a deep breath feeling. So the moon is about how we take care of ourselves emotionally. So, when you have a partner, you need somebody who's going to understand you on an emotional level. And that is what you bring to partnership as well, is you have an empathy that can go a long way in partnership. Like, you can see the other person in a way that maybe they don't even see themselves. So one of the beautiful qualities of the moon being conjunct Venus is, again, there is an attraction there. There's something very beautiful. But the moon is the natural mother, right? And so you want to take care of your partners. Now, this is what you need in a relationship as well. You need someone who can see you and take care of you and nurture you. But you're always going to be a nurturer. That's a big hallmark of your relationship style, is, you're going to be the girlfriend that brings your boyfriend chicken noodle soup when he has a cold. And that is a beautiful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. The pitfalls that we have to kind of watch out for is sometimes being a little codependent, kind of looking to the other person to fulfill our emotional needs, and not necessarily, sometimes it's important to kind of take a step back and say, is this the partnership, or is the partnership lacking and needing a little care and love, or am I needing a little care and love? Because the Venus and the moon are two different planets, but they're acting as one. And so, getting your needs met by expressing what you need. And that's not something that's always necessarily going to come very naturally. You want to give, and sometimes what you need more than anything is to be nurtured and taken care of. And it's really easy for you to project that onto other people by taking care of them. So you probably are, seeing it in relationships as like the sweet one, the one that really can, understand and have empathy for your partner. But you need to understand that your partner also needs to have empathy for you. And that's going to be incredibly important for you in this lifetime. Okay, Mercury. Mercury is a very fun energy, fun and alive and witty. Mercury rules communication. And so when you have your natal Mercury next to your natal Venus, you need somebody who can match wits with you. So naturally in a relationship, you seek out someone who is, kind of got that intellect and that sort of intellectual banter and spark. That's incredibly important to you in a relationship. You would not be fulfilled if your mind is not also fulfilled. So that's one thing that I think makes a Mercury Venus just like a really live, sparky kind of energy that you guys can be social together. I think one of the pitfalls could be just too much banter, kind of really like going back and forth with that witty banter and not kind of taking a step back and looking at maybe some of the deeper meaning of those communications. So communication in relationship is going to be paramount to you, and the healthy expression of that is going to be really sitting with your partner and making sure you're talking about the right things and the important things, but also keeping it light and fun. And I would just say, you need somebody that has something going on upstairs. You've got to have the intellect. You've got to have that intellectual stimulation. And I think the two of you can, have all sorts of fun conversations and, do the crossword puzzle together on a Sunday, and it'll be fantastic. Okay, so Mars and Venus, they are a match made in heaven. We've got the god of, war and the goddess of love, coming, and the very combustible, fun, beautiful energy, very sexy energy. So Mars often rules sex and Venus is love. And so having those two understand one another can be beautiful. So there's also a magnetism, much like the Sun-Venus conjunction, there's a magnetism. People are attracted to that because, here we are, love and sex all in one place. That's a great thing. So Mars doesn't just rule sex though. Mars can also rule anger and aggression and assertiveness. And so what I've seen with my clients often, I don't necessarily find that people with heavy Mars-Venus interactions are necessarily all that fiery themselves. I see a lot of projection of it onto their partner. So sometimes, especially for women, it's not that easy to tap into your own inner sexy, beast. I mean, Mars is a beast, and Mars, is Aries energy. They're combined. It's like the god of war is, he's taken no prisoners. And so in this lifetime, a lot of times you're here to explore anger, and you're here to explore anger within a relationship and how to express your own anger, express your own needs, express your own assertiveness. So, whether that is through your partner and that's how you are learning, or you could be that person. It doesn't always come in the form of projection, but that is going to be an important lesson and theme for you throughout your lifetime, is kind of that exploration of getting your needs met, getting the I met in the we. And that's not, that's going to be potentially like a lifetime learning, but the I and the we can function together, and it's about how to figure out that dance. And, like I said, it might take several different relationships where, you're the person that needs to learn to assert yourself, or someone's asserting, or you're too assertive. And so it's kind of finding that dance, but all the while knowing there is this attraction, this sexiness, there's this magnetism that really makes Mars and Venus great bedfellows. So Chiron is the wounded healer. So a lot of times where we find Chiron, there is a wound. There is something that has hurt you, whether it's this lifetime, a past lifetime, but it's some energy that you come in with that needs to be healed. And so when you have Chiron sitting next to your Venus, there's a pretty good indication that your wound has to do with relationships. And it's also a place where you have every ability and ample opportunity to heal that wound in this lifetime. And how you're going to do it is through partnership. So Chiron, Venus together bring this kind of, how do I explain it? It's an energy of maybe at first not trusting, but getting to a place like when you find your trustworthy mate, that there is so much that you have to offer together in this world. And I think that's the most important piece of this, is knowing and acknowledging that there could be a wound, there could be a lack of trust, there could be, you could have had relationships where you were, cheated on, or you could have a relationship where there was some form of verbal abuse, or, you could have just really suffered a lot of bullying growing up. I mean, there's a lot of different expressions of wounding partnership and wounding relationship. But if you kind of think of the flip side of that, like what doesn't kill us make us stronger, there is so much healing that can go on where you can then turn around and be a natural counselor. There's an opportunity there for you to counsel others in relationships. And I think that, doing the work to heal any kind of wound around partnership, and that is only going to happen with others through partnership for you, then provides this beautiful opportunity for you to be the healer. And so when I look at partners that you could attract wounded healers yourself, right? So again, going back to this is who you are, but it's also what you need. And so you need someone with a degree of empathy. You need someone who has that depth to know that, partnership and relationships are not always easy, and that you kind of have to, get through some things together, but then you can come out the other side and it can be the best gift that you've ever given anyone in the world. And your partner can give you the best gift that you could ever receive. And they can be the ones that help heal you from any sort of past hurts or problems in love. Okay, now we're going to look at Jupiter. So Jupiter is big, fun energy, and Jupiter is, just sort of eclipses everything. Like Jupiter is the king of the gods, right? And so when you have this big, bold energy conjunct Venus, well, you are lucky. So that's the sort of traditional meaning of Venus and Jupiter. You're going to attract lots of people. Like people want to be in partnership and they want to be in relationship with you. And that's really a great thing. I mean, I've seen some Jupiter-Venus conjunctions or heavy Jupiter-Venus energy that does result in people being quite popular and people wanting to be around their sort of magnetic energy. One of the things that we kind of have to caution around Jupiter-Venus energy is overindulgence. And there's kind of this like very optimistic and positive sense that you can, go out and eat everything and drink till your heart's desire. It's very Venusian, Jupiter, Dionysus. Like it's kind of like bigger is better, bolder is better. And that is really fun energy, but it can be too much. So for you, there's kind of this sort of tempering and just recognizing like, okay, I have a lust for life and I have a lust for relationship and people. But am I doing it in a healthy way? Again, this always comes back to that, especially when we're dealing with these really big energies where it can sort of blind you. Like Jupiter can kind of overtake Venus, where Venus can kind of feed into Jupiter and be like, yeah, let's have another drink. Let's go out and party. Let's go out and, have that beautiful decadent chocolate cake. Well, there are consequences, and sometimes Jupiter doesn't always see the consequence. So you're going to attract to you a lot of people that want to have those sort of light, interesting, fun, like, party kind of relationships. But you also need to just take a step back and just say, am I attracting the right kind of Jupiterian person to me? Because Jupiterian people also can be adventurous. And so it's about looking at your whole chart, but recognizing there's this opportunity for you to have lots of different options and lots of different partners, but are they the right partners for you? So, again, looking at the sign, looking at the house, that'll give you some additional clues. But I think one of the best things is that you're going to be very popular and you can have a lot of fun, but just be careful that you don't overdo it. Okay, so this one's a little more personal to me because I have Saturn and Venus conjunct. So Saturn-Venus conjunctions, it's kind of the opposite of that Jupiter where there's so much confidence and, you really understand that, people are people and you can just kind of pick and choose and have fun. Saturn, on the other hand, there's a little bit more of an insecurity, a little bit more of a, kind of lack of trust in relationships. There can be this sense of, all right, I'm willing to try this out. But there's really just kind of a longing. And a lot of times when people have Saturn and Venus conjunct, the beautiful, beautiful part of it, and I can attest to this myself, is you can attract to you people that are incredibly loyal, high integrity. This is what you bring to relationships, right? So, the long haul. That is like the committed relationship is Saturn, Venus, and that's what you need. You don't really necessarily want to have a ton of, fun fly-by-night Fridays. Like what you want is somebody who's in it for the long haul with you. And when you say, I do, they mean it too, right? So that's the beautiful part. And that's the part that you can get to. But sometimes I've seen a lot in readings, and I saw it with myself. There is that sense of lack and that sense of insecurity and the fear, really. Saturn is a lot about fear, and this fear that you're not good enough for a relationship, or that nobody is trustworthy, or there's a lot of different fears that can manifest with Saturn. But, kind of coming back to this, maybe a feeling of, it's not working for me, or I struggle with relationships, or relationships just never seem to work out for me. This kind of, Eeyore sort of feeling. But the best thing to kind of do there is to say, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of commitment? Am I afraid I'm not good enough? Am I afraid of getting hurt? And the more you can kind of investigate that, the more you can sort of flip it around and get to that place where you're attracting to you the more healthy side of a Saturn-Venus conjunction, which is really all about commitment and integrity and partnership in it for the long haul. I also do see people with a Saturn-Venus conjunction. They might be late bloomers and have relationship that works out for them a little bit later in life. It's not that late, but like I didn't even meet my husband until I was like 34, 35 years old. And, all my friends were getting married around me, and I was the one, always a bridesmaid. But, now I have this wonderful partnership. So just remember, you are not doomed with a Saturn-Venus conjunction. Okay, Saturn-Uranus. Saturn-Uranus is a totally different energy again. So Uranus is unexpected, and Uranus is free-loving, and Uranus needs stimulation, and Uranus doesn't like to commit. So these are some themes for you to be investigating in your relationships. So you may think you want a committed relationship, but if you've got Uranus sitting very close to your Venus, you may want to have a more unconventional way of committing to somebody. It may not be a church with a picket fence. It may be, you have a long distance relationship, or it could be that you have a non-binary relationship. There's all different ways of expressing kind of a more untraditional relationship. So what I've seen a lot with Uranus and Venus conjunctions are people just who, have a confidence about themselves, have a confidence about their relationships, but they want to do it in their own way. That's kind of the most important thing, is you need to have the freedom within your relationship to express your individuality, and you need somebody that respects that. Above all, you need somebody who's going to give you the latitude to, go out and have a girls' night, or you need to have that freedom. Like there's nothing more than a relationship killer for a Uranus-Venus conjunction than somebody trying to put limitations on you. And your kind of song is, if you love them, set them free, right? And they'll always come back to you if that love is meant to be. So I think that's one of the big themes with Uranus in Venus conjunctions, because the Uranus is always going to be telling the Venus, like, hey, you've got your own individual path. You can be in partnership, but it's got to be on your terms. And it's got to be on the terms that we negotiate as a partnership between the Venus and the Uranus, right? So that's its own individual partnership, because Uranus otherwise is going to be like, I'm out of here. And, that's when you see like abrupt endings of relationships, like because people just can't if they feel too caged in, they just are out of there. Or you could be the person who's projecting that, where, you think everything's fine, and one day you come home and your partner's moved everything out of the apartment. So I think there's kind of got to be this understanding of like what relationship is to you as a unit between the partnership and the partnership of your individual Uranus and your individual Venus. Like, how are those two going to work out any sense of commitment? Okay, now we're going to go Neptune and Neptune-Venus conjunctions. So what a pretty, romantic, sweet energy. When I think of Venus conjuncting Neptune, I think of flowers and poetry. And I think of, a big cozy comforter on a rainy day where you just cuddle up with your partner. So there is something so mystical, or staring up at the stars together, going camping and you and your partner just stare up at the beauty and the mystery and the magic of the stars. So I think there's something incredibly romantic and beautiful about Neptune conjunct Venus. They're both wanting pleasure. They're both wanting sensuality. They're both wanting care and kindness. These are all hallmarks of both of these planets. And so it's a really sweet combination. One thing that can be a pitfall, because they all have their pitfalls. One thing that can be a pitfall is that there's a tendency to escapism and over romanticizing. Because the bottom line is, relationships, while they don't have to be hard work, they tend to be. Basically, whether it's your partner that you spend the rest of your life with, or it's just your next door neighbor and friend, there's always some give and take. And so I think there's an idealization that can come with a Neptune-Venus conjunction. And when things aren't in that sort of idealized fantasy, there can kind of be a hard landing. And maybe you're not always equipped with what to do next. So there's maybe a feeling of like, maybe that person isn't the right person for me, and giving up on the relationship a little too early. Or kind of not allowing people in to begin with because they don't meet this sort of romanticized ideal of what a partner should be. There can be this sort of melting together too, where there's no boundaries between the two of you. And again, there needs to be a boundary. So Neptune loves to merge, and Neptune's like, okay, Venus, let's just merge. Let's just and so you can have this beautiful, sexual, sensual, like flowers and just this really just, Jane Austen energy. But the next thing you know, the dishes need to be done, and the dog needs to be walked, and the baby needs to be changed. And where does that fit into a Venus-Neptune partnership? It doesn't, not that easily. That's, more your everyday work stuff. So again, we have to look at the sign. We have to look at the house placement. But if you kind of can take a deep breath and sort of realize that you are going to need this kind of magic in relationship, and you can create this magic, and you're going to attract this magic. But you also have to be conscious of not sort of losing yourself in the other person, not sort of losing yourself to the over idealization of what a relationship should be, and not taking it too hard during those moments, which happen kind of daily, that the relationship may not fall into this beautiful, magical picture. But you have this gift where you can bring it back there. You can bring it to that beautiful, juicy place and write your, loved one a poem. You can leave a rose by the bathroom sink. Like, you're that person, and you infuse magic into relationships, and that's inspirational for everyone. So again, also pitfall, watch out for overindulging and drinking too much. Kind of your partner, you and your partner maybe getting stuck in a pattern of too much TV, just Netflix and chill, like a little bit too much. Get out there in the world and remember that there's lots of different ways that you can experience the magic, and it's going to take a little conscious effort. Okay, last but not least, the big guy, Pluto. Pluto is here to have you learn about deep, deep, deep intimacy and the deepest, darkest crevices of your partnerships. So you are not somebody that came into this incarnation looking for a light relationship. You are here to kind of investigate the, as my teacher Stephen used to say, you get naked and then it's like, okay, we're naked, but what's beyond the naked? And so there is a depth that you need in partnerships. There's a depth that you bring to partnerships. You have come into this incarnation with a strong capacity to be present to other people's pain and suffering. You can handle, if you have a friend and they come to you with a cancer diagnosis, you're not the person that's going to look down and then just, not talk to them again until they're done with their treatment. You're somebody that can actually sit with them and be present for that tough time. And so that is the really awesome gift that a Pluto-Venus conjunction has been given, is strength. So Pluto is all about strength and power, and you have tremendous strength and power in relationship, and you can really go deep with your partners. You need partners that can go deep. You're not looking for superficial relationships. You're looking for people that want to get to know the real you and who are available and present for the real you, and you're there for them as well. So when there's words of caution, anytime you have strong Venus-Pluto conjunctions, there can be like a little bit of an obsessive quality. There can also be this attraction to the dark rather than kind of investigating the time and the place kind of thing. There's, sort of like things are heavy for the sake of being heavy, and you're constantly sort of like investigating the relationship together, and maybe a little bit drama prone, and it doesn't have to be that way. There's hard times and then there's light times. And so I think the most important thing for a Pluto-Venus conjunction is to take a step back and kind of recognize, like, when am I in this period of like enough is enough and we might need a break. We don't need to talk about the relationship all night long. Maybe we can just go to bed and have breakfast in the morning and it'll be okay. So I think that, and then also, like I said, there can be somewhat of an obsessive quality. Like when you meet someone, you're just like, this is my soulmate. This is the one. This is all, and that's all you can think about, because there is this strong power and there's this strong attraction. But some other great qualities are that you kind of have this sixth sense about one another. Like in relationship, you can kind of, draw to you people that have kind of deep, interesting stories, and you can sort of peer into their soul, and they can, if it's all going well, they can peer into yours. So I would say you'd need somebody who is as strong as you are emotionally and who has that interest in investigating the relationship and not just resting on the laurels. And it's not a superficial relationship, and that is a beautiful thing. So if you have a natal planet conjunct your Venus, please let me know any feedback below in the comments section. I'd love to hear any stories you have to tell, any anecdotes. I think that would be helpful for everybody. And if you are interested in astrology reading, you can always go to lawlessastrology.com, and that's linked below. And in addition to that, I just wanted to let you know that we are going to have a series on Venus in the different houses and Venus in the different signs. So the more you can kind of learn about your own personal Venus, the more that you can kind of fine tune what you're looking for in a relationship, and also kind of feel good about what you have to offer in a relationship. So until next time, remember, the universe is conspiring to help us all, and there is a reason and season for it all. So until next time, have a great one.